I have been tasked this morning with welcoming you to this very important ceremony of handing over marine equipment to support the development of the blue economy, which is really a partnership between the Ministry of Natural Resources and Labor, the Recovery and Development Agency, and the Foreign and Commonwealth Office. And we will hear a little bit about that partnership very shortly. But to put in context the particular exercise, this is the second of 3 phases under a much broader project for building capacity within the territory for the conduct of marine surveys. This particular work that we have reached to this stage entails really the ability of a much stronger partnership with the UK government through their National Oceanography Center to render specific skills in marine survey work. And really the thematic areas that are covered under that include, but are not limited to, the actual determination of the bathymetry, in other words, the depth and contouring of our seafloor, the determination really of water chemistry, and how do you then go about characterizing underwater habitats to provide, for instance, the basic layer of information that will enable us to better understand the resource base, the marine resource base, to understand change over time, and to then harness that capacity to develop new industries and augment industries already established. And some of those industries include fisheries, of course, tourism, and marine information, and the acquisition of marine information to support a number of activities. So really and truly this morning is the culmination of this second phase of work. The first phase of work had our colleagues from the National Oceanography Center come and provide training to 6 departments of government: the Ministry of Natural Resources and Labor's Environment Unit, the Agriculture and Fisheries Department, specifically the Unit of Fisheries, the National Parks Trust, the Town and Country Planning Department, Survey Department, and the Virgin Islands Shipping Registry. So this is truly a very multiple set of partners that we are enabling through this capacity building exercise to build the necessary skill set to continue the work and to really augment the development of our economy, founded on some very important principles of having sound information and the best available data to inform decisions. So with those few remarks regarding the nature of the exercise, I would like to invite His Excellency the Governor, Jasper, to give his remarks.
Thank Joseph Smith Abbott for his introduction. You have said everything I could possibly say and more, but I will expand on some of the points a little bit. But I also want to take a brief moment to thank Mr. Smith Abbott for his work on this, because this actually came from a very quick bid, which I think was done in an afternoon, which we then supported and were delighted to support through the United Kingdom to get money in, to really, really think hard about a critical resource and a critical part of this territory. Because we often think of the territory, and I know the Minister and I often use the same language and are very aligned on this. We often think of this territory as a set of small islands, a set of small land, a number of beautiful islands, most of them, 25 square miles or whatever it is. We don't actually think, and we need to encourage and keep thinking, are we thinking to our biggest ambitions? Are we thinking of ourselves as a small island or small islands, or are we thinking of ourselves as a big ocean? And within that big ocean, we have some of our amazing resources. We have some of our ability to really think through how we develop as a territory. So this project was really about that, about supporting that bigger ambition of thinking through, and I know the Minister will talk maybe a bit more about the blue economy, about the marine environment, and thinking through actually what that means for us as a territory. But at the heart of that, and why I was so pleased with the partnership with the United Kingdom and the funding that they gave, was actually about building the capability here. So it wasn't just about experts, because there are experts. Oceanographic surveys is an expert area of business. I won't claim to be able to explain all of it, but I will look for experts to do that. But within that, when the National Oceanographic Centre came over, and I remember Minister Wheatley and I, we were on the boat when they first arrived to welcome them. One of the things there that we were very keen on, that this wasn't just people coming over and mapping our oceans or mapping our marine and doing the survey, but actually they were going to train the capability here. And I remember us both saying, this looks like good equipment. How about you leave it here when you go? How about you train people up, you leave the equipment, and you give us the ability to actually keep this going and to keep the skills that we have here, so we have boost our own capability and our own resources in the territory. So I'm delighted that what started as a project to map or survey our marine environment has turned into a project to do that, but also then turned into a project to build our capability, to build our equipment, to build our sustainability in this area as well. And I know with the brilliant work from the Ministry and the Minister and his leadership as well, has turned into a wider project about how do we see the ocean or our seas as a resource and our marine life as a resource. So it's wonderful when a little gem of a project, and we can talk about the funding amounts and all those parts, but when a little gem of a project actually turns into a national strategy. And that's where, for the Minister and the team taking that forward now with this capability. In terms of the kit and the equipment, it's great to see it all here. I'm hugely grateful also to place on record for the work of the Recovery and Development Agency. Always the Recovery and Development Agency works best when it is able to work very effectively with the ministries, and this is what we've seen in this example with the Ministry of Natural Resources, Labour and Immigration, right from the inception of the project through to the ongoing sustainability of the project as it's taken forward into a wider strategy. So once again, can I say thank you to all of those involved in the project, to thank the RDA, to thank the United Kingdom Government for their funding and support around it, to thank my team in my office for taking it forward as a project, and then to particularly thank the Ministry for making sure that this isn't a project, but is actually part of a longer term strategy that really delivers and builds success, even more success for our fantastic territory. So thank you very much.
Good morning, Governor, Minister, DS, FCO. There's a whole lot of other friends in here, all parts of the team that's come together, the very many stakeholders, ports and shipping, and that have come together to put this project together. And I really acknowledge all the collaborative work, Joseph, that's been undertaken to bring what is quite a complex project together. As the Governor alluded to, there's 3 phases or 3 activities in total as part of this project. And the DS has spoken about the first phase around the activity of really coming out here and doing some training, capacity building. And out of that process, along with building capacity with 16 individuals, one of the outcomes of that first activity was the identification of what are the right equipment that the Ministry is going to need to go forward in the future for meeting the needs of the BVI. And this is what you have set out in front of you. The third activity will be really around the balance, and we'll be spending the balance of the funding around another high level, high engagement around capacity building using this equipment. So we're thrilled to have partnered with the Minister and with everybody else. I acknowledge the FCO behind there. Governor, it's been fabulous that we were able to put this project together in very quick order. Just for the record, and I have a note here, a summary note for Joey and others that might want to take that away, but just for the record, the total budget for this project is $230,000, just a little bit over. FCO funding is $146,000, just over, so it's nearly $147,000, so that's just over half the budget, so a very substantial contribution. And I'll acknowledge Saskia here. Saskia and has really been the RDA's point person for this project, working very closely alongside the DS Joseph here. So just in a little bit, because everyone's going to ask what this is. So Saskia's given me a bit of a rundown on this. So let's just take it from this here, the AquaView. When you peer into the ocean, you want to see what's going on down there. So you can see that there is such stuff on the seabed. Well, this is an underwater camera that can go down, and it's called, the terminology is ground truthing. And so you can go down and actually, if you think it's marine grass or if there's a coral reef or something, you can get down and look at it quite specifically, which is a terrific tool to have. This thing here is quite an interesting, Sonde is an interesting and possibly I understand, the most complex piece of equipment here. What this does is analyse water quality. So very important, put it in the water and might leave it in for a period of time. So it tells you what the water quality issues are. Now that's really important here when we're talking about the ministry's work around looking at runoffs around coastal areas as an example of the use of that. So that's a wonderful piece of kit for us to have here in the BVI. This piece over here, I'm just going to remind myself, it's a Van Veen grab. Now what is that? A Van Veen grab, that's the name of it. That actually goes down, and you can, from the surface you can go down and grab a bit of the ocean floor and bring it up and analyse it. So as you can see, it's a pretty heavy cast iron steel and pretty robust, so you can go down and grab whatever you want, bring it up, and then you can do your analysis. This little baby, and I pulled it out yesterday, it's quite heavy for those who operate it, and you've got some here. This gets towed behind a boat. This is a sonar and all the bits and pieces. This is the cable that brings up all the information. And so you tow that around. So when we want to look at what's going on, doing water acoustic, want to get acoustic data, you're going to drag this one around and get a really good picture of what's out there. So what you're hearing is there's a whole range of tools doing different things. So this is high level, then you're getting into water quality, then you're getting into specifics around the seabed. So quite exciting stuff. All this stuff here is the solution, basically relating to when you're doing the water quality, you've got to have all the solutions to do that. The final, well, a couple of other things, very importantly, 2 think pads, one for the field and the other one to come back and do all the data analysis in the office. So we've got 2. So one will be, they're set up, configured differently, those 2 roles. And the other one, which we've all been wanting, one of these things. So that does coastal area, shallow areas to go in and have a look at everything. I hope that helps, and give you a bit of an overview. As I say, we've got some people here technically for those who want to have a bit of a view later on. Nothing else to say, but I'd like to thank everybody, Joseph, Saskia, and everybody else here, and we look forward to seeing this being used productively. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. I guess today can be seen as kind of a red letter day for the BVI environment. We have now moved beyond the rhetoric and we're going into action. I think this project epitomizes what partnerships really are all about. We have a partnership between the FCO, the RDA, and the government through natural resources to really take a serious look at our environment. As the governor rightfully said, the BVI is often called a small country, but it's not. It's a very large country, just mainly water. Our aim is to do more exploration into that water. The water surrounds the islands, the few islands that we have here. So we have a lot more water than we are land. What this equipment lets us do is really track environmental changes over time. So you can see the impacts of our daily activities on the environment. It lets us know what's done so we can quantify it, so we can know what's there, so we can analyze it. So anybody want to do any studies or you want to do any impact studies of their development, this equipment here lets us do that. What we are hoping to achieve in the long run is to make the BVI a center of excellence for marine survey studies. And that I hope to see come to fruition. The fact that we have capacity building with this project is just amazing. This is one of the first time we've ever seen it to the scale, where a company came in, they not only came in, did a study and left, but they made sure they trained locals here across 6 departments, not 1 or 2, but across 6 departments, that these guys can now have the equipment to go and even go beyond what the training has taught them, to create something very different to the way it started. I think we probably did about 3 or 4 miles. We have 200 nautical miles. We don't really know what's really out there. to me, it's so exciting. It's kind of groundbreaking work that we have trained persons here on the ground with their own equipment who can experiment and play around and go and just make it into an adventure. And you have the enthusiasm, you have the knowledge now to go and do it, and now you have the equipment, the final straw. And again, we cannot thank the FCOE enough and RODA for bringing this project through to fruition. It should not be looked at very, very lightly. If we are going to build a sustainable environment, which is what we're striving to do, a sustainable environment, this here is where we start in making that vision a reality. And again, I must thank all the partners, DS Abbott, all the work you are doing and have been doing. I had a meeting in Virginia just last night, and to show you, everyone is now a lot more environmentally conscious. After the meeting, some guys came to me and said, Minister, you better look at South Sound. We want a moratorium on all conch fishing in the South Sound because we are concerned. We're not seeing the same size conchs as before. Go and take a look. The environment is not going the way we think it's going. Please go and take a look. This equipment here lets us do that very, very efficiently. And we can expand the scope beyond the conchs. It could be lobster, fish, seagrass, whatever, coral, whatever you want to do. The equipment is here. It opens up so many possibilities right now for us to really get into our environment and really, really see and measure and quantify. And we must spread this to everyone. Anyone who needs data, all the schools, the media, they must understand what we are trying to do. We must make sure that 100 years from now, 200 years from now, the environment looks the way it looks now or better. It shouldn't get any worse. Runoffs, sewage going into the waters, boats pumping sewage, all the plastics in the water and so forth. Now is the time to take action. And this equipment here lets us really get a better, deeper look at what our real impact is on the marine environment. Now, all those who are involved in the pilot project, can you stand, please? As if in. You are going to be the primary users of this equipment. We are placing a burden on you, because you're the kind of the guinea pigs. You're setting a trend for others to follow. So I urge you to give it your all. The future of this environment is going to depend on the work and the passion and the dedication you put into using the equipment properly. I urge you to take care of it. Make sure it lasts as long as it can last. Have fun, learn a lot, report back to us, share information. So with those few words there, I just want to thank you very much again, FCO, RODA, for delivering yet another project, on time and on budget. Thank you all very kindly.
Before we wrap up, I think it would be fair of me to say that this could have not been done without the invaluable assistance of some very important partners. The governor made reference to one, but I also would like to acknowledge Ms. Kaylee Smith in the governor's office, who, when he spoke of turning a project over in 1 or 2 days, that is not an exaggeration. So she was the counterpart in the governor's office throughout the process, leading up to today, virtually, that certainly provided that support. And then I'll also like to recognize Ms. Sasky Lang and Ms. Sherry Griffin from the Recovery and Development Agency, who again were very, very important partners and who obviously advanced this project to today. So obviously we will go forth and study our environment, natural environment, with the certainty that we have the tools available to equip us and do that with some degree of certainty and inform and hopefully derive better decisions. So I'd like to thank you very much for being here today.